Hi there, Roger. Hi there. You've got Roger Pascal here. I'm the CEO of Real Impact Training Systems. For those of you who are new to this call, at Real Impact, we improve the quality of people's lives through real estate investing. You know, we have several locations throughout Texas, and now we have our newest location in Oklahoma City. Real Impact provides local real estate investors with networking and educational meetings. Our locations are franchised, owned and operated by seasoned investors who we call Real Impact Master Trainers. In short, we call them IMTs. They are your local experts. That's what our business is. We are your local expert on real estate investing. In addition to monthly meetings and workshops, our IMTs also offer a variety of one-on-one mentoring programs that can help you no matter where you're at in your personal real estate journey. If you're interested in learning more about our training systems, please reach out to one of our Impact Master Trainers. You can find the IMT locations and contact information on our website online at realimpacttraining.com. Just click on the location button in the middle of the screen. In a few minutes, several of our IMTs will be joining us so you can meet them tonight on a one-on-one basis. One of our primary objectives each Sunday night is provide you with the opportunity to ask questions about real estate investing, no matter, well, let's say this, no need to wait for the work week to start. We can get your answers tonight. Just type your questions in the chat box and we'll see what we can do about getting one of our IMTs to provide you the correct and the right answer for you tonight. If you don't have the checkbox on the YouTube link, click on subscribe and that will get you on board. So thank you so much for being on here tonight. I'm excited. I normally start these calls out, or I always start these calls out with kind of a corny joke. So a man was lost at sea and he was found 20 years later living on a desert island. The sailors that found him were surprised to see that he had built 3 large structures on the island. They asked the man why he built the structures. This first building is my house. I was able to set up an aqueduct, and I have indoor plumbing, and I have a kitchen in there. I have everything that I need. I'm just living good on this island. The sailors are impressed and ask him about the second building. Well, the second building is my church. I'm a Christian, and my faith is very important to me. The sailors nod in understanding and ask about the third building. Oh, that one, the man says. That's the church I used to go to. There you go. So that's my corny joke of the day. CJ, let's get everybody on board. Let's throw everybody on here real quick. So Dennis, you got to hear my another corny joke.
Yes.
So, but that's kind of about real estate. The guy's building his own houses. So there we go.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Welcome on board, everybody. Karen, I think you had, we talked a while ago. You had a question for me.
I sure do. Let's see here. Rogers. Okay, so Roger, if someone wants to sell a dozen or so properties, like a portfolio, and they're okay with seller financing, but they want a large down payment, and I don't have the money to pay the down payment, what do I do?
Well, okay. This is a simple question. We've structured these multiple times with our students. Each one are going to be a little different, but that's part of the thinking outside the box, creative financing. So we did one a couple of years ago that the guy, I think he had 12 properties, and one property was vacant. It was a few single families, and he had a duplex in there, and I think he had a fourplex in there. So what we did is we put together a program where he wanted $75,000 in a down payment. So the impact student had the 75,000, but it didn't want to spend all the 75,000. So what we did is we told him that we'd give him the 75,000 at closing, and we took the property that was vacant and we turned around and we sold it retail, and we closed on that at the same day, and it sold for 125,000. And we were able to essentially pay him his 75,000 and put the better part of 50,000 in our pocket at the day that it closed. So that was a creative deal that we did. When it started out, he was, he wanted cash. And then we asked him, we said, it may be a good idea for you to go and talk to your CPA about receiving all this cash up front. It was over $1 million. And he talked to a CPA and he came back to us and he says, okay, how do we work this owner finance thing out? Because he realized he was going to pay a boatload of money to the government if he sold all that for cash. So that's how we made that work in a nutshell. It was a little bit more complicated than that, but we put it together. The seller was very happy. Our impact student was very happy, and it got him rolling in his real estate portfolio, real estate business. So he wound up with about 10 or 11 houses when it was all said and done. And that's how we put that together, just thinking outside the box.
That's awesome. That's a great tip. That's one of the things that whenever I am presenting someone with like a seller finance 0 down or low money down deal, I'll discuss that with them. Like, have you checked with your CPA? Do you know how much you're going to have to pay in taxes if you sell all these at one time? And also a lot of landlords, they miss that mailbox money. And by selling to you with seller financing, they're still going to be able to get some money monthly. Maybe not as much as they're used to getting, but all the headaches go away because you're now responsible for it. So it's an excellent, excellent option for people that are already investors and they understand it anyway. But some of them they've never even thought about something like that. They've only ever bought their properties with cash or with a bank loan, and they don't know that there's that option. And the best part is that we take care of it with the title company. They take care of all that for you. So I love that. All right. Hey, Dennis, I have a question for you, sir.
Okay.
What if someone wants to do a reverse mortgage? Do you have any suggestions for that?
Well, I just this past week, or maybe the week before, my partner came to me and said, I have a lady that wants to do a reverse mortgage, but I don't know what to do. And I said, well, how's her health? And he said, well, she's in pretty bad health. And then I asked her age. He gave me her age, and she's elderly. And I said, well, what's the property worth? And he said, well, about 170,000. And how much does she owe? Well, she owes about 55,000. Is that the only loan? Yes, that was the only loan. And what does she want to do? Does she want to stay there? Yes, she wants to stay in the house and reduce expenses. And I said, okay, go back to her and offer her this. Tell her that we'll buy the house from her, but she can stay in the house rent-free. We'll actually purchase it from her for, I think we said $150,000. I'm not sure exactly, but her rent will be our payment. So she stays there. The rent on the property would be like $1,300, which she would pay us normally, but we're going to be paying her $1,300 in a principal reduction loan, which means we don't have much interest to pay. But our agreement says that she can stay there as long as she lives or until she wants to move. So now she's getting the exact same benefit that she would be getting with a reverse mortgage. The only difference is we'll be owning the house and we'll go in and fix it up. That was another thing that she wanted because it's not in really good shape. We'll go in and fix it up for her. What we'll do is we'll purchase, we'll take the property into our name. We'll get a loan, pay off her first, and then use part of that loan money to fix the property up. She also wants to rent out the front 2 rooms, which is fine with us. We don't mind that, which will give her more money. And she's going to be paying the taxes and insurance. So it's a zero deal for us. We have nothing basically out of our pocket. In fact, when we get the loan, we'll actually put some money into our pocket. And I'm just really excited. I think it's going to be a great deal.
Awesome. Awesome. I did need to do some clarification. Does anyone want to answer what a reverse mortgage is, since many of our viewers may not know what a reverse mortgage is? Any takers on that?
Don't all talk at once.
Tony or Tim? I think y'all are our bankers in the group.
Tony, you're on mute. I think you're both on mute.
There we go.
Go ahead,
Tony.
Tim. Go ahead, Tim. You guys do reverse mortgages?
I think Gabi does, and Gabi may not be there tonight.
I know what they are. I'm not a reverse mortgage expert.
Tim, you want to answer that? I mean, Tony?
So from my understanding, I've never done one, is when someone wants a reverse mortgage and you see these advertised on TV, usually with a celebrity who's advertising these, and they're going after the elderly market, folks who probably have some equity in the property. And it's to basically, as I understand, Dennis, you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, it's where they're going to get payments monthly.
Right.
And the intention is that, at least how I've heard lenders talk about it, is that this is kind of like an end of the life loan for some of these people, and that it will be making payments to them, because rather than them just pulling the equity out, we're getting a new loan, but the lender will make payments to them. And isn't it a HUD product and dictated by Housing and Urban Development?
It is. It's a HUD product. And the key there is if the person outlives the value of the house, they still get the money. And HUD has to, when they sell it after the person passes or whatever, HUD or the bank or HUD will agree to sell it at 10% below value to cover all the realtor fees and closing costs with that. So it's a pretty interesting product out there.
Great.
But real quick, I want to throw something out there.
I have the definition here.
Okay.
What is a reverse mortgage? It is a type of mortgage loan only available to homeowners age 62 or older. It is different from all other types of mortgages. It does not become due for as long as the homeowner lives in the property as their primary residence, continues to pay required property taxes and insurance, and maintains the home according to FHA requirements. According to a 2013 study, the National Council on Aging, reverse mortgages can help seniors pay daily living expenses.
Right. Okay.
So that's a definition.
Thank you.
Super.
Dennis?
Did we have a tip this month? I mean,
oh my gosh, Tony, I am so sorry. You were down there in the corner, and I just kind of looked over. I am so sorry, Tony. Give us a tip of the month. Oh my gosh.
Well, I'm so glad you guys asked. So yeah, let's talk about that. Well, Roger was so stunned by his own joke, I think he forgot to move on to the tip. So we're talking about creative financing. In fact, the last few weeks we've been talking about creative financing, and this is going to be a big week with regards to creative financing for the Real Impact Training Systems Group. And so I thought tonight we'd talk a little bit more about creative financing by talking about seller financing and understanding that just a little bit more. As Roger said, my name's Tony Jardu. My wife Cindy and I are the owners and hosts of Impact Arlington and Impact Waco. And 2 weeks ago, Roger mentioned that seller financing is the easiest form of financing. And last week, Tim Lockhart discussed the importance of providing multiple options with your purchase offers. And 2 of those options involve seller financing. So what exactly is seller financing? And by the way, it's also known as owner financing. So what's it all about? Well, seller financing is an agreement between the seller and the buyer, whereby the seller agrees to sell the property to the buyer and take payment for the property over time. The buyer gets possession of the property in return for a promise to pay the seller for the full purchase price based on the terms they agreed to. The seller no longer has responsibility for property, repairs, taxes, or insurance because they own a note receivable and not the property. They're a lender, like a bank, but without all the hoops you jump through when you borrow money from a bank. The purchase price and repayment terms can be whatever the seller and buyer agree to. That means the repayment options you come up with are only limited by your imagination. For instance, you can offer a down payment or no down payment. You can offer repayment based on interest-only payments, plus a lump sum payment in full in several months or years. You can offer principal-only payments or principal and interest payments. As the buyer, you have a deal if you can get your price or your terms. You don't need both. This information about seller financing works whether you are the seller or the buyer. In fact, several years ago, I sold a non-real estate business with seller financing. And in numerous real estate deals, Cindy and I have been either the seller or the buyer in seller finance transactions. The mechanics of the transaction are not complicated. However, you should always get an attorney to help with the legal documents and close at a title company. And you got this. Roger, that's my tip of the week.
All right. Thank you so much, Tony. I'm so sorry that I just went off track. All right. So great, as always, great tip of the month. I got a cough drop here. I've got a cough. So, but other than that, Karen, well, first of all, let me throw this out there. I also forgot to mention that this Saturday we have Pete Fortunato that's going to give us an all-day event with talking about making creative deals happen. It's going to be in Arlington, Texas this Saturday, all day from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. So we're excited about that. We're excited to have him. He's going to be in Wichita Falls on Tuesday night. He's going to be in Longview on Wednesday night. He's going to be in Waco on Thursday night. And Friday night, he's going to give us an hour of his time in Arlington. So we're excited about all that. I'm goofy tonight. I'm sorry. But I left that out. So we need to make sure that you see that we have realimpactevents.com.
Right.
You can go there and you can register. You can get more information who Pete Fortunato is. I'm telling you, with the last 3 or 4 weeks and the contacts and the exposure we've had to Pete, it is one event you don't want to miss. Dennis brought him out of retirement to do this. So we're excited to have Pete here all week this week, but Saturday is going to be the jewel in our jewel box. And he is going to be just phenomenal. And this is what he does. He just sits down and he tells you about how he's made creative deals over the years. So, Karen,
Thank you. I just dropped that in the chat for those that are watching, by the way. realimpactevents.com. Okay, so shall we move on with some more questions? Good
Sure.
deal. All right, so let's see. Pam, I want to ask you, what do we do if someone has a reverse mortgage already? How can we buy their house?
Well, there are several steps in buying a house that's in a reverse mortgage. It's, did they have a will? Do they not have a will? Most of the ones that we've come across, they do not have a will. You need to have a good title company that understands reverse mortgages. That's the number one of the main things when you're buying a reverse mortgage. You can't do a subject to on a reverse mortgage. I've had people to ask me that several times. And one of the reasons is because it's like when we're explaining what a reverse mortgage is, the definition of a reverse mortgage. Well, that lender, they are immediately notified once that person has passed away. There's no going around that. So once the mortgage company has been notified that that person has passed away, that's when they begin the process, and they usually give the heirs to the property 3 months before they start a foreclosing, process. So it's very important on the heir side, which not very many people know what to do, because it's like it was brought up. The mortgage company is paying monthly payments to the person that owns the property. You also are dealing with Medicaid in some instances. Was this property the owner's only property that they owned? And if it wasn't, it causes more problems than that. And so that's where your title company comes in, where they do the search to make sure that this was their only property, filing the paperwork for Medicaid. Also, it's important that each title company has if they don't have a will, you're doing affidavit of heirships. We came out of 2 properties that we purchased a property in September, and there were, oh my God, there were 6 people involved in getting this, affidavit of heirships. Your significant. So I'm going to use this as an example. So when you're the daughter that's, part of the heir, your husband cannot sign an affidavit of heirship because it is called, they are assuming a profit, a gains from it. So your affidavit of heirships have to be people that have no interest in gaining money from the sale of this property. So I hope I answered the question, but it can be a short process. It can be a lengthy process. And where most people make their mistakes is they depend on the title company. You have to remember the title company doesn't have time to do everything. You need to do your part. So I hired a notary person, and we spent 8 hours driving in the Dallas-Fort Worth, Midlothian area, getting signatures on all these affidavit of heirships so that we could close this property within 3 weeks before it went to foreclosure.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing that story. That's amazing. Okay. How about Grandpa died without a will? What are my options as far as buying this property? Anybody want to take that one? I'm going to take that one. So we had a situation where Grandpa died without a will, and the people that the kids that inherited the property didn't want the property because they didn't have the money to pay for probate and hire an attorney to do any of that stuff. And they didn't want the property. They wanted nothing to do with it. They couldn't pay the taxes. They just wanted out of the property. So we were able to take care of everything with affidavits of heirship, and we actually got in front of the attorney. The judge, for probate court, and the judge signed off and everything, and we got that deal done in about 3.5 weeks. But it's because we had a good title company on our team that knew what we were trying to do, and we were very what's the word? The word just left me. We were very proactive on getting those documents signed by everybody that needed to get them signed for the affidavits of heirship. And like you said, we had to have people that didn't know the family. I mean, that were not in the immediate chain of title. So it couldn't be a spouse or a child. So we went with ex-wives and ex-husbands that knew the family, but we're not part of the chain of title. So it worked out really well. But it's really important that you let your title company, like, just tell them what's going on. They know where to go look, and then they can advise you on the fastest, most efficient, cost-effective way to do it. And as long as you have sellers that are willing to help and get you that information, it can be done. So always think outside the box, and don't say, oh, I can't buy it because grandpa died without a will. That's not true. So, okay.
Great job.
Thank you. All right. So, okay, Tony, here's one for you, sir. How do you approach a seller about seller financing?
Karen, I swear I thought you were going to start a song when you said grandpa died without a will. All right. So how do you approach a seller about seller financing? Well, the way I always do it, and when I'm dealing directly with a seller, that's what we're talking about here. If I'm dealing with a wholesaler, it's not going to work because you have that in between. If you're dealing with a real estate agent, it's not going to work. Most real estate agents aren't going to really push for that seller financing option that you want. So this information occurs when I'm talking directly with a seller. And I offer cash first. And offer cash based on my terms, not my number, not my terms, but my number, regardless of what they're asking, because it has to work for me based on what my analysis says. If that doesn't work, then, and they say to me that they need cash, I am going to follow up with this. I have 2 options ready to go, but I ask them this question. I'll say, and by this time, hopefully I've built up enough rapport. I'm on a first name basis with the seller. So I'll say something like, Bob, if you sell this for the amount of cash that you want, you're going to get a big pile of money. And I got to tell you, I'm always looking for alternative investments myself, something that's safe and sound. And I just got to ask you, where are you going to put this money? Because if it's a really good investment, I might be right behind you. And I let them answer. And that tells me, and this goes to what Tim talked about last week in his tip, when he talked about finding their motivation, and that having cash isn't necessarily the motivation. It's doing something with the cash. And so when I ask that question, I have gotten a lot of different answers back. I've gotten some answers where the people were pretty old and they just said, I just want to get the cash and clean up my estate, have everything settled. Okay. A great follow-up to that, and I didn't know it at the time, but I've learned it since, is if you're going to leave this cash to your estate, will that be going to kids, your own kids, your grandkids? And how quickly do you think they might burn through it? So maybe we can think of a different strategy, and that would be to where they get a little bit every month, and they're going to be able to manage that a lot better than a big, large pile of money. And the way we can set that up would be through recurring cash flow stream for you. And that gets them to the seller financing.
That's excellent, Tony. That is really excellent. I love the way you explained it. That's very, because that gets them thinking, what am I going to do with this money? Now, a lot of times they'll say, well, I've got to get out of debt everywhere. So, that's a, but if they're just going to park it in the bank, or like you said, leave it for the kids, oh goodness, or grandkids, they will go through it.
And that's a good point when you just said bank, because one of the things that you can also say is you can relate to what people are going through, particularly the elderly, because we deal a lot with elderly rental owners, and they're going to get a big pile of cash. Are they going to put it in the stock market? Highly unlikely. Are they going to put it in a bank? Possibly, because they know it's safe there. But what kind of return are they going to get? Less than 1%. And so you can say that right up front. And by telling them, I'm looking for alternative investments. And right now, I'm not feeling safe with the stock market. There's no return. I'm putting money in a bank. So where are you planning to put your money?
I like to use the phrase, how about if I turn you into the bank? Send you mailbox money every month. All right. Well, thank you so much for that. That was very helpful. Let's see here. Does anyone want to take this question? What do I do if a seller wants cash to fund their move before they close? What are some creative ways you got? I know y'all have run into this. So anyone have a creative way that you've solved this solution, solved this problem? Anybody?
I can answer it.
Okay, Pam.
Good.
No. I have funding coming in. I can't give you cash to move until I'm to get funding so I can close on your deal. You do not want to do that. I mean, that is the correct and true answer for that. You can have if it's a moving company or someone that's moving, you can have them to go ahead and move you and say, hey, you can get paid upon, closing when a property, funds, just like you do when you put in carpet or anything else. I mean, that's another option, to do. But to give a seller direct cash, for me, that's a big no-no.
All right. Well, thank you very much for that. Dennis, what about you?
Well, you could give them a few days. You can say, okay, we're closing on Thursday and we'll give you the $1,500 that you need for moving on Thursday. And then you need to be out by Sunday. You could do that. You'd be risking them staying there and having to foreclose on them. But that's, if it's going to kill the deal, that just means that it'll be another month before the house is empty. But it would still, you don't want to kill the deal because of something small, even if you have to wait a little while.
Well, on top of that, Dennis, I want to tell you a story, a real life story that happened. Guy that I work with, investor, wholesaler. I wasn't involved in the deal, but he went and made a deal on this house, and the couple that lived there, they needed $1,000 to help move. So he gave them $1,000, got to closing, the day of closing, and they didn't show up. He goes to the house. They're not answering the door. He looks in the windows. Nothing's been touched. They haven't packed a box. So and they're not answering their phones, nothing. So he goes to the neighbor and finally finds a neighbor that says, well, I've got a phone number for that guy's brother. So he calls the brother, and the brother says, oh, you won't believe what happened to them. Their son went to Oklahoma and he got thrown in jail. So somebody gave them $1,000 and they went up to the WinStar Hotel there in Oklahoma and they lost all their money. And the couple got into a fight. The police showed up. They had drugs on them. And now all three of them are in jail. So that was a story with that. And that's a true story. So he had to get creative on that. You know what? In jails and prisons, they always have a notary. Just in case anybody wants to know, I've done a lot of deals with people in jail and in prisons. And there's always a notary out there. So that's the story on that. I love that story. And so yeah, you can let them stay there, or you can take a chance on them going to the WinStar too. So you got to be careful on that.
You never want to pay them any money before the closing. That's
right.
So, chances are you won't get that back.
Right. All right. Okay, this question is for Tal. what if a seller wants market value? Basically, they're wanting, full price for the property. And for an investor, there just isn't enough room to make a deal happen. What are some creative ways that we could combat that and make the deal happen?
Well, good evening, everyone from Oklahoma. How are you?
Good.
Thank you, Karen. Thanks for all your sharing today. With that question, well, right now the market, we have low inventory. I have one deal that, I've been looking at it because it was 7 duplex, and I love duplex for rental. And it has been on the market for a while because the price is very close to market value, not investor friendly price. So and on good location. So I did all the number and all, then the rent is so low. We have no cash flow. But I love the duplex, and the seller wasn't motivated to lower the price. So I negotiate with him where he would carry back 25%, like seller finance. So I'll get my bank do 75% and he will carry back 25%. However, because I need some time, to add value to the property. So I would ask him, hey, your 25%, we're gonna ask for no payment on the first year, just like what Tony suggests, and I love that. So no payment on the first year, we did that, and then interest only on the second year. So that would give us enough time to add value to the property, to bring up the rent, so to increase the cash flow. So with the market appreciation in the last year, the price now actually wasn't that expensive, and we're so glad that we did it. And I, just like Karen said, think outside the box. If I think the price was too high and there's no way I would be able to make it happen, I wouldn't do it. But I'm glad I did. It's how investors do. We think creatively so that we can make it a win-win situation for everyone. So yeah, I'm here in Oklahoma City. The market is really good here. If anybody think about investing, well, give me a call.
All right.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that. Tony?
Dennis, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say that's a really great answer. And I really appreciate that. You can pay anybody's price if you dictate the terms, which is exactly what Tal did. So just remember, it doesn't matter what the price is. If they want the full price, you can always pay full price as long as you get to pick the terms. And that's where the creativity comes in. So Tony, go ahead.
So I've done a couple of those too, where the seller wanted very close to market value. And I was able to get them to come down just a little bit. But I bought the properties anyway, because I then turned around and sold them with owner financing. And I wrapped my loan. And so I got bank financing and a second lien from my private lender, similar to what Tal did. She got a second lien from the seller. I got it from a private lender. And then when I sold with owner financing, I got down payment money and I was able to pay off my private lender, sold it for more than the market value, higher interest rate, creates what is kind of called an arbitrage. So it creates this spread and we get great cash flow with no responsibility for repairs, taxes, or insurance.
That's awesome. Great. I like the way you guys are thinking outside the box, because a lot of times, especially new investors, they'll say, oh, I can't do it. They want full price, and they'll move on to something else. Sometimes you just got to think a little bit, or, hey, call one of us. Hey, Doug and Renee, I think you guys are on mute. There you go. Go right ahead.
Yeah. If you're going to hold it, those are good ways. There's no reason to let any deal go. If you don't have the money to buy it, if you don't have if the seller doesn't come down on their price, if they're wanting full price, just recently we signed a options contract with a lady over here just a mile down the road, riverfront property, 2.5 acres. It's actually a 2-2, but it has 2 large living areas that I could close off one doorway with a piece of paneling on both sides, and I'd have a 3rd bedroom. And we have so many people now looking for houses. We get calls all the time. Hey, do you have anything for sale? Can I buy something in Longview? And if you can just tie it up for the price that they want, you can sell it, or you can get the two together and have the sale go through. If you record the options contract, you can make $5,000-$10,000 right off the bat, and you don't have to do any work or just 2 pieces of paneling. So
Wonderful.
No
Wonderful.
pocket, no risk.
That's right. That's right.
Falls through, then you're out very little.
That's right.
Hey, Dennis, I have a question for you. So when you said that y'all created this, where the lady was thinking about doing reverse mortgage, did you add interest in your terms, or were there?
No, there was no interest. It was a principal reduction payment. Her rent went toward paying down the principal. So every month, let's say her rent was $1,300, we reduced the principal by $1,300 every month. And so she didn't have to pay rent. So that's where the $1,300 came from. So the property will be paid off in a few years, but she's in very poor health.
Right.
So, that.
The reason I brought that up is because I think especially new people, and this is where I'm running into with some of our students when they're going out there, trying to deal with creative financing. I'm like, why are you offering them interest? That's why are you doing that? And I think it's because, we're so geared when we're talking about regular loans, everybody thinks, oh, we have to offer, an interest rate on that. And I'm like, you're dealing with someone that didn't ask that. You put that in their head. Now they're expecting it. I said, they're looking at monthly payments. They want to know, what are you going to do with me with monthly payments? That's what they're looking at. So quit putting the idea of the interest in their head.
That's a word you don't bring up. You don't say, you say principal reduction.
I need to remember that, principal reduction.
That's a great strategy. That's awesome. Thank you so much for that. Okay, let's see. Moving right along. Our next question is from Matthew. He asks, can I make a subject to offer using an agent?
Well, let me tell a story about that. And Matthew, I know you're in Tyler, and this happened in Tyler. We had a subject to deal working, and the house next door was listed with a realtor. The realtor happens to talk to the homeowner of the house we're doing the subject to with, and she told the homeowner, the realtor told the homeowner, "Oh, you can't do that. That's illegal." and so we went. So the owner called my partner in it. So I got on the phone with the seller and said, it is not illegal. And do you have the phone number and the information for the realtor? So I called the realtor and I said, this is not illegal. It's done every day. And she says, I think it's illegal. And I said, why don't you talk to your broker about it? And she says, I'll talk to my broker. So I call her back and I said, did you talk to your broker? Well, I did. He said it's not illegal, but I don't think he knows what he's talking about. And she says, and on top of that, I called the Texas Broker and Realtor Committee down in Austin, which is over all real estate in the state of Texas. And they're all attorneys down there. And I called them and they said it was not illegal. But I think that, and she says, but I think they're wrong. I don't think they know what they're talking about. Well, long story short is she convinced the seller not to sell it subject to. The seller didn't have enough in there and didn't have enough money to fix it up to sell it properly on the market, didn't have enough equity in there. The house wound up going to foreclosure, and the realtor wound up not being able to sell the house next door because of the condition of that house, and it went into foreclosure. And so she wound up losing her listing on the house next door too. So to answer your question there, Matthew, it is going to be very difficult to work with a realtor. I've actually had classes out there, and I've worked with realtors, and it can be challenging. You can do it, but it can be challenging. And you got to remember that realtor is looking for a commission. And if that realtor doesn't get a commission, they're not going to do anything for you. Dennis?
Was the question short sell or subject to?
Subject
I thought
to.
it said subject to.
Okay.
It did. It said subject to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Well-
yeah. And so, and a subject to, the seller is not really getting any money
Right.
in most cases. Sometimes they are, but there's definitely, you'd have to come to the table with something to give her for the real estate commission or him or her.
Okay. Now, I worked with a subject to specialist realtor for a number of years, and his name was Roger Pascal.
Absolutely.
There are realtors out there. So in general, you probably wouldn't just go to the realtor that you walk up to, but there are realtors out there that specialize in this, and they'll even bring you subject twos. So you need to have a team of realtors. And one of those is a subject to realtor, one's a short sale realtor, one's a HUD realtor, one's a bank-owned realtor. You have all these specialists, and they don't care what the other realtors are doing. They just bring you their specialty. And so that would be my suggestion. Set up that team, work with somebody that knows what they're doing.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Karen?
All right. Okay, this one is about back taxes, liens, and judgments. Have any of you ever successfully used anything creative to take care of a tax lien, a judgment, child support liens? I mean, there's all kinds of things that can come up on title, and title will say this has to be cured before you can close and get your title policy. Anybody have a good story on that? I have one on a judgment.
Do it.
All right. So mine is there was a house that we wanted to buy. We already had our cash buyers set up and everything. It was good to go. And they had a lien. I'm sorry, a judgment from an old automobile loan where the husband had co-signed for the daughter. She had given the car back and she owed like $6,800. Well, by the time we found it, it was at like $70,000. They were charging him 18% interest per year and all these fees. And it had been going on for years. And they were told that they couldn't sell the house until that was cured. So we let it go. And then they called back a few years later and I looked into it again. And now they owed like $94,000 or $97,000. It's something crazy. So I just called that attorney and said, hey, they're fixing to lose this house. They already owe, I think it was $18,000 or so in taxes. They had moved out of the house and didn't want it anymore. And it was going to go to the county. So, let's work something out here. We'd like to buy the house. And they actually came back. We did a little bit of negotiating. We offered $1,000. They came back with 10 and we ended up with 4. So we got that property, but unfortunately they'd already moved back into the house and sold their other house. So it didn't work out to our benefit, but we didn't give up. And then, but they had already given up. They were just exasperated with that whole thing. So didn't work out, but it was a good experience. And I learned a lot from that. Never say never. Anybody else have anything that they've ever done with that?
Well, on tax liens can be challenging. Doug and Renee probably know this better than I do, but it is very difficult to get a tax lien negotiated. They just don't negotiate at all. Are you aware, Doug? Are you aware of any that you've done that they don't really?
No. Probably the best thing. What we usually do is we get the list pretty far in advance, as far as in advance as we can, and I have my assistant line everything out, and we go knock on those doors. Specifically, knock on those doors and see if we can get them before that. We just recently sat down with a lady that, you know, in taxes owed are like 47,000.
Mm-hmm.
And you hope you can do something for them. But the best, I think probably the best thing that we can do in that situation is just at least get inside and see what it looks like. If somebody's going to buy it, I would rather it be me that can help them out later, possibly with if they can rent the place. If they don't want to move, they can rent the place from us. But somebody's going to buy it.
You know, one of the things that we talked with her about possibly doing is she was going to go to the county commissioner and see if she could get some extension
She got it.
on at least another 30 days to try to fix the mess and see what she could do from there. And of course, having a good real estate attorney that knows what they're doing, that can help you walk through this, can be very valuable. But we also asked her if we could possibly come back in the next week or two to see what happened. And we didn't say put an option on your house, but we said we would like to be in first position to buy your house if you decide to leave for any reason. And she said, yeah, that would be fine. So that's our next step, is to get an options contract with her.
Yeah.
Super.
Good deal. I really enjoyed going to the tax sale with Doug and Renee last week. It was a lot of fun. It was exciting. I'd never been to one. Dennis?
One other thing, with the exception of the tax liens, IRS liens, bank liens, other people's liens, every other thing pretty much can be negotiated, especially if
IRS will negotiate.
Now, the IRS liens are always in first position, but they will still negotiate. I mean, you can talk everything else down. Tax liens shouldn't probably be lumped in with all of the others because they're a little bit different. But it never hurts to try. You can always ask, and you'd be surprised at what you can accomplish by asking.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I think that's it for the questions. I do want to throw out there that Cornelius Hambrick has mentioned that he has some land for sale. Discounted land investment opportunity, 12.843 acres right off of 175, located between Athens and Eustis. So if anybody, and the sales price on that is $85,000. So if anybody would like to talk to him about that, his name is Cornelius Hambrick, and I'm sure you can find him on Facebook. So yeah, that's great. Thank you for bringing that, Cornelius. Better bring it to the meeting on Wednesday night in Longview.
Yeah, Wednesday night. Yeah. Go ahead, Dennis.
If anybody had a question and you couldn't get in, you can always call 817-371-8658. I'll be happy to answer the phone and talk with you and answer your questions and refer you to the IMT that's closest to you. So please give me a call if you have a question.
All right.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Good deal. Well, once again, I'm going to plug out there. We've got Peter Fortunato, that's going to be here all week this week. So Tuesday night, we're going to be in Wichita Falls. Wednesday, and this is all going to be about 6:30 p.m. So Wednesday, we're going to be in Longview. Thursday, we're going to be in Waco. Friday, we're going to be in Arlington. And Saturday is the all-day event that you can go to. realimpactevents.com. You want to check on that. You want to make that happen. There's your flyer right there. QR code. If you got your phone, you can click on that real quick. But really excited. Oh my gosh, I just cannot believe that we were able to wrangle in Pete Fortunato and get him here for a day with just Pete. I mean, it is going to be an absolute phenomenal deal. It's going to be in Arlington, Texas, at the Sheraton Hotel, which is right there by Ranger Stadium, by Global Life Field, by the Ranger or the Cowboys spaceship there, Jerry Jones spaceship. So we're all going to be We're all going to be there all day Saturday. We got some great vendors that are going to be there that you can network with and you can reach out to and work with that are RMLOs, that are lenders and all kinds of lending and all kinds of different vendors that we'll have there that will get you the right information and help build your team, as Dennis was saying a while ago to Matthew about building your team with the right people on your team. That's what we do, and that's why we're successful.
Roger.
Go ahead, Dennis.
I want to tell you a story about Pete. You know, early on in my career of real estate investing groups, I got to be friends with a lot of other investor groups. And the Rich Club down in Houston was really a big club. And so I called up the president one time and I said, "Who's the best speaker you ever had at the Rich Club?" And they said, "Oh, it was Pete Fortunato, hands down. There was no close second." So I started looking around, and my friend John H.E.B down in Florida knows Pete very well. So I reached out to John, got in touch with Pete, and convinced him to come and speak. This was in 2017. And when he was going through his training that day, I took 18 pages of notes. Now, people, I've been in this business for 50 years, and I took 18 pages of notes of things that I didn't know that he was saying. And I was so sad that we didn't have more people there. I thought, wow, I just wish everybody in my group could hear Pete. So about a year ago, I talked to Roger and I said, "Roger, you know, Pete's already retired. It's going to be hard to do, but I think I know him well enough that maybe I can convince him to come and speak, and we can get all of our groups, get him to come to speak to all of our groups." So I called him, and he just said, "Oh, no, I'm not doing that anymore. I'm retired." And I talked him into it using my great sales presentation. I said, "Oh, Pete, we really need you. You're my hero." And I really buttered him up, but it was all true. And he agreed to come. I tell you what, I'm excited. You really need to be at that event. You're going to learn more in one day than you've learned in the last 5 years. Now, I guarantee it. So make your plans to come on Saturday, on the 12th. Go to realimpactevents.com. And Karen, do we have time? Yeah, we got time. Tell them what all they get for coming to the event, for signing up.
All right, I sure will. CJ, can you throw that back up on the screen and I'll just read that? Okay, so you're going to be getting, just for coming, all the attendees are going to receive Roger Pascal's book, Subject To, which is a $35 value. The Royal Flush of Real Estate Investing by Dennis Henson, which is a $15 value. And I'm going to tell you this, it's $15 the price, but the value is ridiculous. That book is awesome. Wealth of Knowledge ebook for $50 value. 3 months access to Impact Training Site. That's a $495 value. If you're just getting started, or if you are getting into buy and hold and you need leases or contracts or policies and procedures, everything that you need is on that website. You're going to get one lesson for the REI Skills Training course. You're going to get that video, and that's a $200 value. You're going to get all kinds of goodies from our sponsors and our vendors. So make sure you go around and visit with them and see what they have and talk to them while you're there. You're going to get a chance to win awesome door prizes valued from $15 to $500. Cannot wait for you guys to see what all we bring. And not to mention, you're going to get 8 hours of Pete Fortunato, which is priceless. I mean, we had him on for 45 minutes, and I just cannot iterate enough how blown away I was with his creativity. Trading, wrapping, seller finance, owner finance, renting. It's crazy, all the stuff that he comes up with. And he has a solution for everything. So I just can't wait for everyone to learn from him.
Very good. Thank you, Karen. Thank you all on this. I've got a couple of plugs out here. Number one, lots of great people over in the Ukraine, so keep them in your prayers. They're really running through some hard times over there. And the next plug I've got is if you look over there and see Doug and Renee, I know Elon Musk doesn't need any money from me, but they just got the internet set up with Starlink. They're the first people, other than the people in the Ukraine, which have pretty much the same type of, when I'm on the Zoom meetings with them, where I'm on a program with them. But I'm telling you, the plug for Starlink, I'm telling you, if you have bad internet connections and you live out in the boonies like they do, you know, I'm surprised they even have electricity where they live, but they do. But you know, I'm telling you, I am so impressed with what that connection is today. That is just really phenomenal. So everybody else, thank you all for being on here. I look forward to seeing everybody. We'll be at your meetings. Tuesday night, we're going to be in Wichita Falls. Wednesday night, we're going to be in Longview. Thursday night, we're going to be in Waco. And Friday night, we're going to be in Arlington. Look those up. The links are below this site right here. If you go on YouTube and you look down and click on more, it's going to give you all the links to everybody that we have. And then Saturday, all day Saturday, we've got Pete Fortunato for all day. And that is a priceless. If you go, you will not regret it. If you don't go, you'll always say, man, I wish I would have gone. Doug and Renee have somebody on their team that actually went out to Florida to see Pete and his presentation. So that people will come in from all over, hundreds of miles away to come see Pete. So there you go. Other than that, thank everybody for being on here tonight. We will see you next week, and at 7 o'clock, same old time. So we will see you. Bring your questions. All about creative financing, guys. All about creative deals that we got going on and making the deals happen. So good night. Everybody have a pleasant
Night,
day.
Night.
He has certainly changed the way I invest. He has helped me and my family grow financially.
His education and his mentorship has meant the world to me and to my family.
Peter is probably the most creative real estate mind that I've ever met.
Pete, I gotta tell you, has got to be the most creative, gifted mentor and the most generous guy I've ever met.
Loved his super technical approach. As well as his heart.
Nobody but Peter and a handful of other people can make the crazy way I like to structure deals seem normal.
I am blown away by Pete's ability to and willingness to be able to solve complex problems just on the fly.
You were just so helpful for me, whether it be just offering sound fundamental advice or giving me ideas to get around problems that I never even would have thought of in a million years.
You taught everybody so easily, and you're just such a great teacher.
He's a gifted teacher, and I've really enjoyed every class that I've been able to go to, and I hope that I'll have a chance to go to many more.
Over the years, Peter has helped me so much, and he's always there for me via phone, via text, of course, or in person.